Welcome to Let's Talk KBG. We are going to change things up a little bit this week, and we're going to be interviewing Aiden, Ava, and Taylor to get their reactions about KBG and one of their siblings. So I'd like to introduce you now to Aiden.
Hello.
Ava.
Hi.
And Taylor.
Hello.
Okay, so you guys, we're going to just jump right in and let's see. Should we do just one of you answer at a time?
I think all three of us are pretty cohesive, and we can talk over each other. So I think we'll be all good.
Like one at a time.
I think we'll be all good just going. I think we'll be all good going.
Okay, so let's start with, is your brother, because we will establish that it is your brother, Bug, is he older or younger than you guys?
So he is older than me, and I'm second oldest. So he's the oldest of the four of us. Aiden is the youngest. Ava is youngest beneath me. And
yeah, I'm like the close middle child.
But we share middle.
Yeah, we both share middle. Yeah. Meanwhile, Aiden's over there in the corner.
Yeah.
Okay, so the girls are in the middle, and Bug and then Aiden are the top and the bottom.
They're the end caps.
Yeah, yes. It's a fun little pattern.
Oh, there you go. They're the end caps. So let me ask you guys, because you've been living it with it then for your whole life, Bug's diagnosis of KBG. Even before we had a diagnosis, you were living with Bug, because it's not like you started living with Bug once he got the diagnosis.
It's spontaneous, yeah.
Yes. So how do you feel when someone asks you about your brother? Aiden, you go first. How does it make you feel when they ask you?
I don't feel like weird about them asking it. I usually like tell them about it and like tell them what he has. Like it doesn't really like freak me out when they like ask me. I don't like hyperventilate a lot. I'm like, when they ask me.
Do you tell them in detail?
I tell them in some detail, like sort of.
So like what kinds of things do you tell them? Can you like give me an idea of what you tell them?
I tell them about like what he has and what he mainly does.
So okay, okay, so I'll come back to you. Ava, how does it make you feel when people ask you?
Okay. So got excited for this one.
Yeah. Because a lot of people mainly in my class know about Bug, and sometimes they'll ask like how he's doing and how like if he was okay, because they know that sometimes he can have bad days, so they kind of walk up to me and ask, and I actually feel very pleased that they actually care about him, because a lot of people, when they ask about my older brother, they like, oh, okay, and they never mention him again, and it kind of makes me feel a little sad. But yeah, there was this one kid I was talking to, and he said that for Halloween, Bug should be Mirabelle from Encanto because he's special. And I'm like, and he's like, I don't mean it in a bad way, and I'm like, I know, and I love you for that. Thank you.
It's very sweet.
You know
okay,
what?
Taylor, you tell me.
Okay, so I am a junior in high school. I don't think we clarified. I'm a junior in high school. You're in what, 4th grade?
I'm in 4th grade.
4th grade, and you're in 3rd grade, right? So we all have very different school climates. So for kids, it might be a little bit more curious. For me, it might be a little bit more targeting. I'll say it that way. So I'm a junior in high school, and a lot of things that happen is I have older kids who actually understand and can comprehend what I'm saying. So I'll explain to them. I have an older brother with special needs, and here's kind of the little thing about him. And so I'll tell them about KBG syndrome, and I'll explain that's genetic mutation. I think some of the best conversations I've had, though, has been with like teachers in school, like biology teachers,
Yeah.
because they're like, ooh, draw me a Punnett square for that. And I'm like, ooh, I can't. But for the most part, I just talk about him and I talk about who he is and what that makes our family and what it's like living with him. Because I've had some, I wouldn't say ruder questions, but some questions that people are intentionally being malicious about, trying to get a specific answer so they can mock me. But for the most part, I just get questions like, okay, how does that affect you? How does that affect your parents? How do you think that affects your school life? And I'll give them straight up answers. I'll be like, I don't think it affects us very much besides like, you know, sometimes we can't go out because Bug's having a bad day. Or, you know, we want to go out because Bug's having a better day. Things like that. So I usually
Well, it's got to be different for you now too because you are older. But
Oh,
there
yeah.
were times that when you were younger, you
Oh, yeah.
had to deal with it, you know, more similarly to your brother and your sister. So as you've gotten older, then your answer is probably evolving to more of an adult conversation than, yeah.
I remember younger when kids wouldn't understand, I would immediately take it as like an insult. I'd be like, oh, you don't understand, you're not trying to understand, so obviously you're being malicious. It really isn't that. And so that's probably something that we try to teach Ava and Aiden the most, is that curiosity isn't always insulting. It's just something you got to
Okay.
teach.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. So you touched on something about good days and bad days. So how does Bug's needs affect your family? Or how do you guys see how it affects them? So Ava, you go first this time. How do you feel that how it affects you?
For me, it affects me.
Well, you and your family, not just you, but like how do you see it affects you? And then how do you see it as it affects your family?
It affects me by sometimes when Bug's having a bad day, it can kind of scare me.
It's scary.
When he's having a good day, I usually feel very happy, and I like Bug. But for how it affects my family, a little worrying because sometimes we'll be cooking and he'll get near the stove, and sometimes he'll fall, and people will think he's hurt.
Did not understand him.
Yeah, that's hers. But yeah, exactly.
That's a good answer.
So when you say it's scary, is that because of his seizures or what is it that's scary?
Mainly when I'm in the kitchen cooking something and he'll get near the stove, and mainly like if someone leaves scissors out, he'll pick up the scissors and start spinning them.
There's no sense of danger there. There's just
He does
Okay.
that with a lot of stuff. But
Yeah.
so we have to always put the scissors back, and it kind of scares me. And also when he falls and has a seizure.
Okay. Ava or Taylor, how about you? How do you feel Bug's needs affect you and or your family?
I feel like
You got it. Good.
well, I feel like our parents balance pretty well between our needs and Bug's needs. But I also think it's been communicated with us very well that Ava, you were turning my chair.
Sorry.
I feel like it's been communicated with us pretty well that sometimes his needs come before like our need to go outside or our need to go someplace or do something, or I want to buy this, I want this, or I whatever. But I feel like it's communicated with us pretty thoroughly that like some days Bug needs the attention and we need to kind of self-sustain, which we're all exceptional at. So we've never had a problem with that. But I do feel like it's just been communicated with us well enough that our normal children things, our typical children things of like, she stole this from me, so I want to beat her up. Like sometimes that's not something that we need to take to our parents that day because they've got something else going on, and that's something that we need to work out.
Taylor, to
And
be
notice.
honest, what you just said just sounds like a typical day.
Yeah. And usually we can deal with that amongst ourselves. It makes us really good communicators with each other, actually. But
So
I
do
feel like,
you, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, you can go. You can
Well,
go.
I was going to say, do you guys ever get angry like inside, not at your mom and dad or even at Bug, but do you sometimes get angry that he has these problems and that your family is different than other families? Like the makeup of your family has to be different.
I feel like my answer is going to be a little more complex because I've been able to think about this for a lot longer than you guys have.
So should I go?
Yeah, you guys can go first.
Okay. So not at all. I
Oh.
I don't feel angry at all. I don't no. I just know that sometimes different is great. Sometimes different is better, actually.
Okay. I was just curious. Okay, Aiden, your turn. Tell me, how does living with Bug affect you?
It makes me sometimes worried, so I usually like safety proof the house when like my parents are gone. Yeah,
You can
and
scoot in a little bit more. You guys keep
usually
scooching out of the frame.
it affects the family for a little. Like what affects the family is when he's like falling over or something like that. And he's sitting on the chair, and then that sort of freaks everyone out, and they just look at them like, what happened?
But we know how to be responsive too, is also what it's taught. So like I'll have friends fall in school and I'll be like, oh, I've got this. I can do this or whatever. It makes me kind of like the cool kid.
Taylor, you
I know how to
okay?
apply direct pressure. But I think that's something I would have learned anyway. But I do think that I'm a little bit more well equipped because I can handle it in a much calmer way because it's something that I can face head on and go, okay, this isn't something that's terrifying. This is something that I know happens and something that will ultimately be okay.
So you guys totally accept the way things are, which is great. So let me ask you one last question, and you guys can each answer individually and kind of will, I don't want to take up more of your time, but if you had one or two things that you had to tell somebody, maybe whose family is just learning how, maybe they just got their diagnosis or they're struggling in accepting the diagnosis, what one thing would each of you want to share to the siblings of that child? So who wants to go first?
Let's go youngest first.
Yeah,
I want to
well,
hear what he has to
go.
say.
Mainly when there are seizures, I don't react because I usually sometimes don't know what to do.
Well, we're not
but-
talking about just seizures in particular, because
Yeah,
not
well,
every KBG child has seizures. We're just talking about having the diagnosis and understanding what that means for your family dynamic.
So basically, what it does to the family is like just, well, sometimes if the child is having a bad day, then you probably shouldn't go out. If they're having a good day, you should go out. Well, if you want to.
Monopolize on that.
Yeah.
If you
You have a good day,
child-
take it.
if you have a
Go
good
out.
if they have a good day, then you can go out, like do stuff. But bad days, you should not go out.
Okay, that makes sense. Ava, how about you? What would you tell another, family member of another family who's learning about KBG and how to live with it?
Well, I would tell them that some days are an adventure. But
Yes, they are.
at the end of
Solid answer.
But at the end of the day, everything gets better. Like, so if they have a bad day, at the end, it will get better. That's what I have learned from living with Bug.
Okay,
And
go
also,
for it. Oh, what?
and also to help.
Yes.
Don't stand there when they're asking you to help. Help.
That's
Okay.
right. Okay, Taylor, what do you think?
I think the most important thing for siblings to understand is that it's not that the person gets more attention than you because they have a diagnosis. It's just that they need more attention. They need more help sometimes than a typical child might. But that you can be self-sustaining, and as long as you understand your place and what you need to do, that you can help and that you can ultimately have better days. And not necessarily just like, because every kid is going to be different.
Yeah.
So you also have to understand your sibling and know, like, if they have behavioral issues or if they have outbursts that can affect everyone's mood or that can seem targeted, that it's possibly part of their diagnosis, and it's something that you just have to take in stride and you have to understand, especially with the kids that are more cognitively aware. Like if they say something or if they do something, you just kind of have to take it in stride and understand that this is just one of the bad days that we've been talking about, but that tomorrow might be an entirely different day. So you just have to understand and adapt and be just there, be present. That's probably the best thing. Thank you. Thank you. I tried.
Beautiful.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. You got a snap.
Yes, just now.
Got a snap.
Now, you guys, I really appreciate you being so open and honest. Is there anything that you want to share about that I did not ask you?
Probably my only thing would be circling back to like how it makes us feel, because I said my answer is a little complex. Because I mean, I've definitely had days where I've been like, oh man, I feel like this is the only part of my identity at home is that I have this brother and I have whatever. I feel like this is my only identity, and I feel like when other people know, that's all they associate me with. But then I'll also step back and I'll realize it is part of my identity, but it shouldn't be who I am. It shouldn't be, oh, I have a special needs brother. I have a brother with KBG syndrome, and that's the only part about me. I think it's other people that make it more about us. So it's understanding if you want to tell people at school or if you don't want to tell people at school. I tell people at school because of awareness, but I could understand that some siblings may not want that because they don't feel safe in their school climate. So I would encourage, if you do want to talk about anything with anyone at like school, knowing your school climate and knowing what's going on, because I've definitely had people make some comments and everyone else who does know will look at me and be like, oh, she's gonna get mad, she's gonna go off on them, and then it'll make everyone else really tense. And I think just knowing my school climate really helped a lot with having support outside of the family unit.
Okay, so I lied, and I do have one more question.
Oh, how dare you lie to us?
How
Oh
dare
my
I
you.
know I did. I bow my head in
We're
shame.
gonna have to close this down early because of you doing that to
Oh
us.
my God.
Okay?
Oh
We
my
feel
God.
really
How did you do
offended.
that to us? Oh no.
So you guys seem to know a lot about KBG and some of the comorbidities that have come up with Bug, because it's all part of KBG, but there are some other things that are much larger sometimes. Are you glad that you know as much as you do, or do you wish you didn't know as much? I know that's a hard question because that's all you know.
Answer.
I
Very
have a very good answer.
Okay, then you go first, Aiden. Go for it.
So you should be glad to know enough, because if you don't know enough, like about seizures, when they have one, you
I'm
usually
talking just about seizures.
No, but that's okay because this is his answer. I'm good with it. Go for it.
so like if
Because
some,
you're glad that you know then. Because if you didn't know about the epilepsy piece of it, then you wouldn't know about the seizure part of it. So that would be very scary to you. Is that what you are trying to say, that Taylor cut you off?
yeah, so sometimes if you don't like know enough about
Yeah.
the seizure when it happens, then you just what happens? Like you just try and figure what happened. And usually some people like tell you what happens sometimes. But yeah.
Okay.
All right, can I go? Okay. My answer is kind of similar to Aiden's, but it's I think I'm glad that I know this much, because if something happens and you're alone with that person, and you don't know what to do, then that can be very dangerous, because if they actually hurt themselves and you don't know what to do, you won't know that they're hurt if you don't know. It's yeah, but I learned very quickly.
Okay, Taylor, before you give me your answer, because not everybody might know everything about bug, can you share with us maybe a little bit about what you know and whether you're glad you know that item in particular? So, like, there's probably things that you may not even really think about because they're just bug. So, just give us an idea of what bug is like.
So even from very young, we thought Bug was just like a little troublemaker because we learned very young with like butter dishes. You couldn't leave the butter dish open because he would eat the butter. You couldn't leave scissors out because he would spin it. And that he particularly liked spinning toys a lot more. So from very young, I would give him toys to play with, and I would have to make sure that they were safe and things like that. Especially with this one toy that he plays with. Something we always have to be aware about is he'll spin the cord around his finger and it'll get really tight. And so his finger's actually gone like purple because of that. So that's something that we always have to be aware about. And like with seizures being one of the things, we had to learn a lot about like direct pressure and with like what is serious, what is not serious. So like if he just takes a little, like if he's standing flat and he just takes a little tumble, usually it's not that serious. Sometimes you just have to palpate and check because it only takes 4 pounds of pressure to break a collarbone. Found that out twice. So it's also just a lot about being able to read a person. So like part of my answer is that for a while I was like kind of, I wouldn't say upset, but I'll say upset that I don't get to experience things typically like that. I've had adrenaline rushes and that I've had these experiences where I've been scared or where I've had to step up and learn something that I felt like a child shouldn't have known based on what I'd seen in like media and like other kids around me. But then there was one day I got like a call from my best friend, and he was like, my niece took a nap on me, woke up with a fever and seized, and I didn't know how to respond, and I immediately thought to call you. And that was really the day that I realized I'm glad that I know these things, especially because I'm a child of this person's age and I'm not an adult, so they felt safer coming to me, their friend, than going to an adult. So I'm glad to know these things because kids my age feel comfortable coming to me and kids younger than me feel comfortable coming to me, as opposed to maybe going to adult and feeling like they're asking stupid questions or they're whatever. So it can go both ways. It can go, I'm upset I didn't get the whole typical child, I shouldn't know how to stop bleeding. But there's also, I'm glad that I do know this because then other kids my age don't have to experience it. I can come in and I can help things. Like there's been times kids in my classrooms have like fallen back and cut their heads open. And I've gotten like tissues and stopped the bleeding before the nurse gets there. Or I'm always the person escorting people to the nurse. And so it gives me kind of that reputation as being like someone who cares and someone who knows these things. So it makes sense.
Because your friends are all aware of it, are they okay when you can invite them over? Or do you not really have that ability or that opportunity, or it depends on bug? Or tell me how that looks.
So for me, I have a pretty tight-knit circle of friends, but I do feel pretty comfortable inviting people over. It's just I will explain to them, I'll be like, today can go one of two ways and we'll see how it's going when we get there. But from what I hear, he's doing pretty okay. So I feel pretty comfortable having you around. But I do also know that people that haven't been around Bug more, like my boyfriend being around Bug so much, or my best friend Hannah being around Bug so much, I know that they respond well to him, and I know that they interact with him, and they don't treat him like he's a nuisance, and they don't feel awkward. I
Okay.
feel more comfortable having them around than other friends, but I do find myself when I bring other friends over being very hypervigilant. So if they like make fun of him, or if they're like picking on him, or if there's something like that, I will be like, you need to leave now, because I don't feel comfortable having you in my space anymore. I welcomed you somewhere that is personal to me, and I brought you into this part of my life that is very delicate, and
So you're very protective.
yes, I'm extremely protective. It's also made me very protective over them. But I'm extremely there's a line and you don't cross it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll be more comfortable with certain people, sometimes not so much with other people.
Ava, you're dying to talk.
I know she's just really
Kind of like what Taylor just said. There'd be a time where like, yeah, this kid was kind of being a little mean. Taylor's like, what's their address? I want their name. I want their phone number. I want like all their social media. Everything. And I'm like,
I'll be like, I'll get on the bus with you. I'll get on the bus with you.
he just said that like well don't no.
He just said my hair looked weird today, and I'm like, let me know.
I'm like, just
So are you comfortable having friends over, Aiden?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I just wanted to.
Really long, complex, thought out answer, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, and
Kind of.
especially some people they know what they like. They know that they have to listen to the person that knows like a ton about like Bug and if he has like a seizure.
So they know to
Okay.
look.
Yeah, so they know like if somebody says like, "Hey, can you get a pillow for him?" Like they're like, "Yeah, sure."
Okay, so they kind of just fall right in with you guys. Well, I want to thank all three of you so much for giving me the time. And I wish you guys a very happy Siblings Day, and take good care of everybody. And I love you too. I don't know how to do it. There we go. Oh, I don't know if I did it the right way. I didn't do it like you guys, but this is what you're getting.
You're doing great, Marla. It's okay.
Forgot.
Oh wait, Aiden.
I forgot how to do it. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
You guys are awesome. You keep up the good work, and you keep taking good care of Bug.
Oh, of course.
Okay, bye you guys.
Bye, Marla.
Bye, Marla.
Later. Bye.
Oh God.
Well, this is the end of KBG Let's Talk. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, you know how to find us. Thank you.
Woo.